What's up, everybody? Jim here. I make videos about retirement hobbies, and especially retiring in Mexico because that's where I live. I've lived in several parts of Mexico going on 3 years now. I'm going to make a series of videos about things no one really tells you about when it comes to retiring outside the United States or Canada. I mean, you can see a few videos that talk about the culture shock of living in a foreign country. Like the culture shock of not being able to drink the water or traffic signs being in Spanish or whatever. Usually there's a whole list of things to be aware of, or something someone thinks they've discovered because they traveled to another country. But what I like to do is go a little more in depth on a lot of them, and I'm going to call them tipping points. Like when a scale begins to tip in one direction or the other. It may be a tipping point that makes you give up living there, or it may make you want to live there. It could be something that's just a bit of an aggravation, or it might be something you just laugh at. But they will be things that you will be acutely aware of, especially the longer you stay somewhere. Tipping points, culture shock, whatever you want to call it, is really a taboo subject in the expat retirement world. It's something most expats don't want to talk about because other expats will usually make mean or derogatory comments to you. They'll say, you didn't do your due diligence before moving here, or quit expecting Mexico to change to what you want it to be. They're really defensive about it. You questioning out loud how a particular place is working out for you brings out this desire in other expats to prove to you that they made the right decision. There's a million reasons, well, maybe not that many, but a lot of why you might decide to move back home or to try out another country. They want to say you weren't up to the task of moving to a foreign country, but they were, and that makes them better than you. So I expect a lot of negative comments, but I only think it's fair to share some of the things that might, and I emphasize might, be a reason for you to reconsider moving overseas. I want to devote some time to these tipping points, not just a 30-second mention of something like language issues, but a deep dive into what that might mean to your experience as an expat. And that experience could be a good one for you or a difficult one. But it's more important than just mentioning it. I want to talk about how it may impact your expat life. So let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is dogs. It's a pretty benign subject for most people. Most people love their dogs or their cats, and most people take care of their dogs probably as much as they take care of any family member. Since I'm currently living in Mexico, this is going to be about what I've observed about dogs in Mexico. And although I've lived in several places in Mexico, the situation for dogs seems similar. When I lived in Chapala, that's a small town on the north shore of Lake Chapala in the state of Jalisco, I liked to walk. A lot. I lived in a subdivision where I could walk to the middle of town in maybe 10 minutes. I liked to walk to have a cup of coffee, a bite to eat, shop at some little store, or just hang out at the lake. It was about a mile from my house and was really the perfect distance to get a little exercise. In Mexico, most people have dogs, and I mean more than one. They often keep them in their homes at night, I guess for protection, but let them out during the day. And when I say let them out, they roam free. They're not on leashes, just wandering the streets. I gotta believe the thought is it costs less to keep a dog if it's out foraging for food all day. And yes, dogs get into the many trash bags that are left by the road for the trash collectors. But that's another video. The sanitation expectations in foreign countries are another subject for a future video. So in that mile I would walk to town, I'm certain I never saw less than 25 dogs walking the streets. Mostly they minded their own business. They don't even notice anyone else around. They seem way more concerned about other dogs. It was kind of comical coming across a lump of 3 or 4 dogs lying on a sidewalk taking their siesta. Less comical was the dog poop that was left on the sidewalks. A lot of it. But that was just a minor avoidance. Let's just say in Mexico, there are lots of reasons to watch where you're walking, especially when you're walking on sidewalks. The potential tipping point is different. I've got a friend that told me his neighbor got bitten by a dog. His arm had huge gashes in it, so much so he went to a doctor to get stitched up. And my friend said that would be his tipping point for leaving Mexico. If he got that savagely bitten, he would leave. I'm in my 60s and I've never been bitten by a dog until I moved to Mexico. My experience wasn't that bad, although at the time it bothered me. I was making my regular walk to the grocery store in Chapala, and a dog came running out of a schoolyard and nabbed me on my thigh. It seemed more of a warning bite. It wasn't deep, certainly didn't require any stitches. He came out of nowhere. I never even noticed him. I didn't think I did anything to alarm him or provoke him, and it seemed like more of a territorial thing. Although I was completely across the street, a street I had walked down dozens of times before. I went home, put some alcohol on it, and went to my doctor's office to see if anything else needed to be done. He gave me a prescription for an antibiotic, but wasn't too concerned about it. He told me that rabies had been virtually eliminated from Mexico, a fact that seems hard to believe but might be true. If you've heard otherwise, leave me a comment below. That was about a year ago, and I still get a bit anxious every time I come across another street dog. And when I say street dogs, these aren't full-bred anythings. Almost none of them have ID tags, and should you want to sue somebody because you got bitten, well, good luck. Probably 99.9% of them are fine. Sometimes they follow you wherever you're going, but usually they don't even notice you. But they're so prevalent that there's quite a cottage industry of expat organizations that rescue dogs. These organizations are great about offering spay and neuter programs, and they take tremendous numbers of these dogs to dog adopters all throughout the United States. They're always looking for someone to take as many of the dogs as will fit into their car to willing new owners north of the border. It's so far-reaching, they even look for people flying to various cities. How they connect with someone in Seattle or wherever who wants to adopt a dog from Mexico is amazing to me. So I've put links to a couple of them in the description below. Take a look at them. Help them out if you can. So is the concern of being bitten by a street dog in Mexico a tipping point? Not for me, for sure. I know I feel a little more uneasy walking down the streets now. But there are some people that have real fears, phobias even, about such things. That's why I wanted to provide a little more information than what you typically get. I hope you got something out of this video. Please like and subscribe, and there will be more videos about the tipping points of being an expat.